Tonight on CFTK-TV News, Prince Rupert adopted an amendment to their new 5-year financial plan, a restaurant catching on fire has led to a criminal investigation, and a Vancouver beach is no longer free to park at.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Good evening, I'm Cal Maslin, and here's what's making the news in the Northwest and beyond for today. Minerals North is taking place this week in the Northwest, and CFTK-TV's Jaylene Matthews went to see what it's all about.
The Minerals North Conference is back in the Northwest after a brief hiatus. Kitimat was supposed to host in 2020, but that was postponed when COVID hit. Now, years later, the District of Kitimat has taken another go at hosting the trade show and conference.
And we have over 300 people attending, between delegates to the conference itself and people involved in the trade show, which is great because we were a little apprehensive after COVID of how people would react to a meeting face-to-face again, as opposed to all of the Zoom conferences that took place during COVID. So we're absolutely over the moon because there's a fair risk involved in putting these things on and expenses to be met, and so it's so far we're all smiling.
The conference provides networking opportunities for those in the mining sector.
But this is an opportunity for a lot of the people involved in the industry and government to come together and rub shoulders and talk to each other, and as well as the information that is available from government and the mining operators, many of them, and consultants.
YXT Airport Manager Carmen Hendry says with the new airport expansion, they have the capacity to take on new clientele.
Just getting our name out to people, letting them know where we are. We're open for business, and seeing how we can help people, help the industry grow. The mining industry brings traffic to our airport, both commercial and in charter traffic. We are a major hub for supporting the crew changes for the mines up north.
And Terrace Mayor Sean Boytage says there's lots coming in mining work in the north.
Well, I think sometimes we don't realize how much activity is going on. There's so much exploratory work in the Golden Triangle, and I think we don't quite really realize how much work is there and how much work is coming for folks in the Northwest.
For CFTK-TV News in Kitimat, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
The City of Prince Rupert recently had an amendment adopted to be a part of their brand new 5-year financial plan. This was done at the city's latest regular city council meeting. In some news that is most likely pleasing to Prince Rupert taxpayers, the plan does not have any major or unwanted surprises. The plan, which will include a 7.7% tax increase, was adopted well ahead of the required schedule, as the city is said to have plans to implement some major infrastructure renewal. The renewal in question involves Prince Rupert's notoriously strained water system, and while the plan reveals that $33.84 million has been set to be spent on that project, it has been pushed back to 2025 as a result of some changes in timelines. People traveling in northern BC can soon expect smoother journeys as crews pave and resurface 260 kilometers of highways and side roads this summer. The Smithers area will have approximately 28 kilometers of highway and side roads repaved. This includes paving 21 kilometers on Highway 16 from Whitsett to Nouch Road and 7 kilometers of side roads including Old Babbitt Road, Hudson Bay Mountain Road, and Slack Road. This $7.5 million project is expected to be completed by the end of summer 2024. In the Terrace area, 27 kilometers of Highway 37 is being resurfaced from the roundabout at the junction with Highway 16 to Onion Lake, as well as 1 kilometer along Beam Station Road. The $8.5 million project is scheduled to be complete in the summer too. Drivers can expect delays of up to 15 minutes with work taking place between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Specialized tents designed to protect firefighters from wildfire smoke could be tested in fire camps in BC this summer. Students at Kwantlen Polytechnic University designed these shelters with air filtration systems to provide wildfire crews access to clean air in smoky conditions. A statement from the university says the BC Wildfire Service has plans to test the prototype shelters this summer. It says the prototypes include a two-person tent that's powered by a portable rechargeable battery and is designed for use on fire lines, while a larger shelter can accommodate up to 12 people. Coming up next, BC residents are expected to get a gift from ICBC. Welcome back. Drivers will soon be getting a rebate from ICBC as the Crown Corporation touts a strong financial position, and rates are also being frozen for 2 more years. But the cash is being slammed as shameless politics during an election year. Penny Daflos now on what you'll get and how the politics of personality is playing a role.
Nothing grabs the public's attention like free money.
$110 rebate to all eligible customers per policy.
And frozen car insurance.
We're keeping basic rates stable for an additional year.
But there's more to this ICBC announcement than fiscal prudence, unexpectedly strong investments, and a new insurance model.
We're definitely in campaign mode.
With the provincial election in the fall, the sitting government is taking full advantage of incumbency.
You can sort of soften up the voters before the election campaign starts formally.
This is a fairly flagrant attempt to change the channel and try and get people to ignore the nightmarish legislative session that the NDP have been going through.
That may be part of the strategy, but the average driver isn't complaining.
It's nice to get any money back. Probably spend it on groceries.
Oh, I always like rebates.
And the Premier likes to take advantage of good news announcements to show his lighter side.
Drivers in BC renewing their insurance were on the highway to hell under Kevin Falcon and John Rustad, but now ICBC is back in the black, and drivers will be thunderstruck.
It's the latest in a series of dad jokes like this leftist wisecrack at a dairy farm.
But I have nothing against the 1%.
Or this quip when jumping on the Canucks bandwagon.
We were going to actually raise Sealob's shirt today on the pole, but we were worried that the pole was going to melt.
What may come off as cheesy jokes are actually shrewd politics.
He does have the tendency to sound a bit like a university law professor when he talks about policy, and so this is an attempt to, I think, connect with voters.
To make a direct appeal to voters after another rebate snags their attention.
It is one less worry for British Columbians. It's a little bit of money, and it's a consistent rate that in a time of rising prices is something that they can count on.
The kind of populist messages we'll hear a lot more of by Election Day in October. Penny Daflos, CTV News, Vancouver.
A popular restaurant in South Surrey that went up in flames is now the focus of a criminal investigation. The business was gearing up for its busiest day of the year, but now police are investigating its connections to a series of crimes targeting businesses in the area. CTV's Martin McMahon reports.
I'm really sad, and I don't know where else I can get the same service and food.
The Roadhouse Grill on King George Boulevard is known for its extensive collection of memorabilia and its famous borscht. But the suspicious fire early Monday morning means the restaurant has to replace its coolers and has structural damage. Patrons and staff showed up at the restaurant Wednesday afternoon to show their support.
It's a shame that these fires are happening.
It's so sad. It couldn't have happened to a nicer family, and there's so much of it going on. Seafood lovers just had their fire as well.
So I didn't know how bad it was, and I came down later that day, and it's just absolutely devastating.
According to staff, this restaurant and other businesses in the area have been subjected to fires and other acts of property crime in recent months from people who appear to be homeless.
This is where they started their fire to kind of keep warm and do their thing, you know? And you could see them on the camera doing whatever, and the fire moved up and moved into our dry storage section here.
That meant the restaurant had to throw out all of its food right before Mother's Day, its busiest day of the year.
It breaks my heart not only for me not to be here, or everyone else not to be here, but the folks that are coming here to celebrate it. And it's a tradition. There's so many people that come in. We come in every Mother's Day to celebrate Mother's Day at the Roadhouse, families coming in, big groups. So, you know, to see those folks, you know, it breaks my heart.
The Surrey RCMP is investigating the fire and says a 27-year-old woman was arrested nearby, and 2 other persons of interest have been identified.
So the circumstances behind the fire itself is still part of the investigation. We do know that obviously a fire was started by an individual. Why the fire was started and the circumstances behind it, that is still very much part of the investigation.
The good news is that while the food storage area and coolers have been damaged, the restaurant's kitchen and iconic dining area are mostly unscathed. Martin McMahon, CTV News, Surrey.
More information is coming out on what led to yet another runaway barge in English Bay. The weather may have played a part in the dramatic incident on Tuesday afternoon, but as St. John Alexander reports, the very buoy the barge was tied to is suddenly a prime suspect.
Now safely tied up at C-SPAN's basin in North Vancouver, the latest wayward barge is waiting for its owners to pick it up. Unusual because normally by now it would have been towed back to where it was secured Tuesday afternoon. The kit's buoy, or buoy, a device often used to tie up barges. Trouble is, that buoy isn't there anymore. Around 2 o'clock Tuesday, when strong westerly winds hit English Bay, yet another barge was on the loose and heading dangerously close to downtown.
We're very fortunate that someone picked up the phone, called 911, alerted first responders.
The Coast Guard put out a call for all available vessels to catch the 200-foot commercial giant. C-SPAN picked up the phone.
We got a call into our dispatch center, which is also crewed 24/7. We got a call from the harbor master at around 2:45 asking us or advising us that the barge had broken loose.
Their team and others in the area managed to catch it in time. Then, as it was secured and being towed away, a colossal clue surfaced. See that? Floating at the very back of the barge was the kit's buoy, the very device normally tied to a weight and anchor on the seabed that was supposed to stop the barge from drifting. How it broke will be part of the investigation by the Port Authority and Transport Canada.
So anytime these types of incidents do occur, it provides us with an opportunity to review those procedures and enhance them as necessary to ensure that this type of incident can't occur again.
These moorings are essential to Vancouver and are becoming even more important as these waters get even busier.
It's not the first barge we rescued, and it won't be the last, I'm sure. In a busy port like Vancouver, it does happen.
Unlike the last infamous barge that was parked on the coast for a year, the response here was considered excellent, preventing what could have been a more serious incident. St. John Alexander, CTV News, Vancouver.
Turning to tonight's weather, the north coast will get a chance of showers plus a high at 8 degrees. The Terrace-Kitimat area is set to be partly cloudy with a low at 9 degrees. And the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District will get a few clouds at a low of 5 degrees. On the north coast, the upcoming week will deal with just clouds and rain plus a high shifting from 12 to 9 degrees. In the Terrace-Kitimat area, their next week or so will get mainly rain, clouds, and maybe the odd mixed condition day, and their high will move from 17 to 11 degrees. And in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, the week for them will seemingly jump back and forth between sun, half sunny and cloudy days, and pure cloud/rain days, while the high bounces from 21 to 13 degrees. Checking out the highways now, visit Drive BC for the latest and up-to-date conditions, and as always, drive safe out there. On Highway 16, there is utility work, bridge maintenance, road sweeping, construction work, pothole repair, and road paving. On Highway 37, some road sweeping and frost heaves. 37A has road maintenance work, and the Telegraph Creek Road has muddy sections and frost heaves. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, unions appear to be threatening to make the federal government's life very difficult. Welcome back. Vancouver has once again approved drinking on beaches this summer, but not everyone's on board. Police say booze on beaches last year led to more problems, but council is giving the pilot the go-ahead. As CTV's Isabella Zavarisi reports, it comes with a hefty price tag.
Expect to see more police on Vancouver beaches this summer. The decision approved Tuesday by City Council, despite pushback.
And I'm very reluctant to see the increased funding of the police on the beaches.
More police is part of a pilot that allows alcohol on 7 beaches starting next month. The VPD says it's seen an increase in violent calls to beaches, and that last year's pilot was challenging.
It was a struggle. Probably the best way for me to describe it is we were constantly trying to play catch up.
The motion is carried.
The park board initiated the motion for continuing the pilot. One commissioner voted against it, calling an increased police presence in parks and beaches alarming.
To me, that was fairly disturbing because I just don't think that's consistent with what we think of in our parks.
Commissioner Tom Digby says he also worries about increased police surveillance, but police say that's not what they're there for.
Our main goal is we just want to keep people safe. And unfortunately, sometimes that takes dollars to do. Council
is giving an additional $450,000 to the VPD, increasing its budget to more than $415 million. The funding will go toward overtime pay for 12 officers who will work mostly nights and weekends. When asked by Council if VPD is sufficiently resourced to respond to incidents at the beach, Inspector Marco Veronesi says yes, but that the pilot forces the department to move officers from other locations.
They need to ask us, and we need to be able to answer to why we're asking for resources above what our normal budget is.
The VPD says it wasn't able to adjust for this year's pilot costs during the budget process last year, and adds it would like to see park rangers take over this initiative in the future. Isabella Zavarisi, CTV News, Vancouver.
They say there's no such thing as a free ride, and starting this summer, there will also be no more free parking at Spanish Banks. CTV's Martin McMahon went down to the beach to see how people are feeling about the change.
For the cheapos of the world, Spanish Banks has been a pretty good deal for parking for years now, but that's all about to change.
I think it's totally nonsense. This is our place and it should be free. No, thank you.
At a meeting last night, Park Board commissioners voted to try out paid parking at $1 an hour. It will come in the form of a pilot project starting in July, and some are not happy about the idea.
No, for sure. I've been coming here for 14 years, and it's like this is what I love this place, yes.
We come here every week, twice or 3 times. So now, with $1, it adds up.
But others feel if the change means easier parking, it's a worthwhile shift.
In the summertime, we could probably use it. It gets too crowded down here anyways.
Just to avoid overcrowding of vehicles.
Part of this is about bringing in a bit of money.
We have our leisure access pass that provides programming and opportunity for children and families that require additional financial support. So this is one way that you're supporting the additional supports. Upgrading our water main, upgrading, maintaining our beaches.
There's also a hope it will discourage RV users from taking up large chunks of the parking lots.
If somebody is parked out there, like triple parked, with an RV for an extended period of time, it means that other people aren't able to access it and enjoy that space.
We have people that are camping at extended periods of time on Spanish Banks, taking up multiple spots.
Commissioner Jazz Verdi voted against it, citing infrequent bus service and affordability concerns. Spanish Banks was the last beach in the city with free parking. Martin McMahon, CTV News, Vancouver.
In Ottawa, unions are pushing back over the federal government's plan to force public sector workers back to the office 3 days a week. As CTV's Mike Lecoteur explains, union leaders are promising a so-called summer of discontent where Canadians will see and feel disruptions.
Whether that looks like, whether it's at the borders, whether it's at the airports, whether it's the efforts that all the unions make, because we will be organizing concerted, unified actions across the country, both in the streets and in the workplaces.
The unions represent more than 260,000 federal public service workers in cities right across the country. They say the government's decision to mandate hybrid work for 3 days a week in the office instead of 2 is politically motivated and not based on any kind of evidence, nor will it mean better services for Canadians. Last week, the federal department responsible for public servants announced, as of September, workers will be expected to be in the office 3 days a week. The federal executives will be expected to be on site for 4 days a week. The unions have filed a policy grievance to challenge the new mandate, and they've launched a labor complaint against the Treasury Board. The unions have also called on the NDP to put pressure on the Liberals through their supply and confidence agreement. On the government side of the aisle, the president of the Treasury Board points out the location of work is at the discretion of the employer.
And I will say that a hybrid work environment is not within the collective agreements. It is something that at the time of the negotiations, the Government of Canada retained prerogative over to determine the scope of the hybrid environment.
Anita Anand adds there is a 4-month transition period for workers, so it would seem the government isn't backing down. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
And now we turn our attention to the stock markets. The Canadian dollar is up 23/10 cents. The price of gold is up $18. Oil is up 27 cents. Natural gas is up 11 cents. Aluminum is down $20.50. In Toronto, the TS is up 116.67 points. The Venture Index is up 5.93. In New York, the Dow Jones is up 331.37, and Nasdaq is up 43.51. Still ahead, more is coming out about a shooting involving Drake's security team. Welcome back. A heavy police presence remained outside of Drake's Toronto mansion not long after a member of his security team was shot and critically injured outside. CTV's Adrian Gabriel spoke with a woman who personally knows his security team, and the violence has left her in disbelief and angry.
They're sitting ducks. There's no anywhere for them to go, you know what I mean? Like they're just out in the open.
Natasha Chase works next door to Drake's home in Toronto's posh Bridle Path community. Like many, she's shaken and wondering how this could have taken place.
It's really sad. The security guards are so amazing, and I believe it shouldn't have happened. I believe they should be more taken care of than they were.
It was 2 a.m. Tuesday when police say bullets began to fly outside of Drake's Toronto home. A security guard standing in front of the entrance gates was shot and rushed to hospital with life-threatening injuries. Over the weekend, a long simmering feud between Canadian music icon Drake
and when I wake up
and Compton artist Kendrick Lamar blew up, with the two releasing a list of scathing diss tracks packed with serious allegations, which has many left questioning, is the shooting a direct result of the brewing rap battle between the two stars?
Is this going to be a ramification? Is something going to happen to Kendrick Lamar or somebody close to him? That's where now this is getting very, very dangerous.
These two Grammy Award winners have been pitted against each other in part because they rose to musical fame during a similar time. Even one former president was questioned about the two way back in 2016.
If Drake and Kendrick Lamar got in a rap battle, who do you think would win?
You got to go with Kendrick. I'm just saying, I think Drake is an outstanding entertainer, but Kendrick, his lyrics, his last album was outstanding.
Earlier today, cops had to be called back to the property after a man tried to breach the gates behind me. He was arrested under the Mental Health Act. Now, it's also important to note that detectives haven't said whether or not there is a connection between the war of words and this week's shooting, though it is definitely part of their active investigation this hour. Adrian Gabriel, CTV News, Toronto.
That's our news for now. From everyone here at CFTK-TV News, I'm Kale Maslin, and thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.